The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Welcome everybody to the nighttime stream. You up? Hope everyone is doing well. I'm just trying to make it through myself personally, but want to welcome everyone to the stream. Hello to Sarah, good to see you. To Janice, good to see you. And Elena, always good to see you. Chi-Town is in the house. I see the Squirrel Squad is in. Good evening to everyone. I hope all is well and everyone is doing fine. Yeah. Be sure to share the stream. I unfortunately had to start the stream over. Had an issue on my end, so I had to start the stream over, which means we probably lost quite a few people, but that's okay because I want to make sure that everyone knows where they are. We got a lot on the docket tonight, a lot of topics. COVID-19 is doing what we're allowing it to do. COVID-19 is doing what we allow it to do. And we are allowing it to ravage us. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. We're also dealing with a conservative party, a conservative movement that just can't face the reality that they lost. So I want to play a clip from Fox News. And then even the moron across the pond, Boris Johnson, is trying to tell President Obama to get over it and get in there, right? Get out of there. Did I say President Obama? Wow, it's that kind of day. President Trump to get out of here. Hey, Facebook. I see you, Facebook. Indigo Zuri. Good to see you. Texas is in the house. Birmingham is in the house. What's going on? Infinite Content. Georgia right here. Down South Georgia, boys. DSGB. Yeah, I said Obama. I caught it. It's just, yeah. So let's get the party started. Again, be sure to share, like, and subscribe, and let's get this party started. Here's the first clip. I'm not really sure what to think of this, and I'm not, in the sense that I'm not surprised. This clip is from Democracy Now!, and it's pointing out some pretty glaring hypocrisy in terms of what actually happened yesterday on Veterans Day. Now, I'm not one for a lot of symbolism, and I guess that's why I'm like, I don't know what to think of that. My kids' puffs are showing in the background. But it's, if you're going to be the commander-in-chief, it would appear to me that you aren't conveniently here's the truth about it. Republicans absolutely only use the troops to the extent that they can use them. Once troops become an inconvenience for them, just like these mail-in ballots are for Donald Trump, then all of a sudden they don't give a damn about the respecting the troops. And this clip from Democracy Now!, they go over pretty detail, and I want to share with you because it's that level of blatant hypocrisy that we're dealing with on so many different levels, on so many different issues. And it's almost as if they really don't expect anyone to not only call them on it, but hold them accountable to it and for it. Like, the military should know very clearly that the only time the conservatives give a damn about them is when they're able to be used and leveraged for their own political ends. Take a look at this clip.
On Tuesday, the Office of Management and Budget said it was proceeding with President Trump's budget request for next fiscal year, and Trump's top cabinet member, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, was asked to compare the Trump administration's response to Biden's victory with overseas elections where defeated candidates cling to power.
This department frequently sends out statements encouraging free and fair elections abroad.
Yes.
And for the losers of those elections to accept the results doesn't President Trump's refusal to concede discredit those efforts.
That's ridiculous. And you know it's ridiculous. And you asked it because it's ridiculous.
Meanwhile, President-elect Joe Biden's trying...
Yeah, we'll get back to that one. That's the whole story. I dropped the wrong video. Here's the video I want you to watch.
Today is Veterans Day, and in Nevada, Trump's re-election campaign has challenged ballots cast by more than 3,000 people it claims do not live in the state. Among those accused of, quote, criminal voter fraud are members of the military stationed around the United States or who voted by mail through overseas military post offices. The New York Times called election officials in dozens of states representing both political parties who reported no evidence of voter fraud or other irregularities.
So that's where we are. We're at the stage of voter fraud, searching for voter fraud, where the Republican Party is attacking veterans, soldiers, active duty members. I mean, it is kind of sad if it didn't represent just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the extent to which these people are willing to go to maintain power. It's almost the silly part of it, because their strategy, as we went over yesterday, is representative of the lengths to which they will go. But I think it's just something to realize that, hey, you are only as useful to the conservative movement in this country as they can leverage you for their own political power. And the minute that you are no longer useful for their political power, well, that's a wrap. I want to play this clip from Fox News. And it really, it kind of explains what Republicans are willing to do in order to maintain power. And not only what they're willing to do, their entire disposition towards this campaign, which is why I'm so alarmed. This is why I think it could be possible, obviously, that Donald Trump will just peacefully walk away. That's obviously within the realm of likely possibilities. But because of everything that Republicans have shown us to date, it really seems to me that there is a possibility that they're going to hype themselves up into a frenzy that they can't back down from. Does that make sense? So this clip from Fox News kind of puts that in context. Take a listen in.
United States, and I'm told that the anger out there in these red states is so deep and so palpable that GOP legislators may have a difficult time seating Biden electors when it comes down to putting in place that process for the vote on December the 14th.
That would be something. John, come back to Georgia in a moment here.
That would be more than something. Listen
United
again.
States, and I'm told that the anger out there in these red states is so deep and so palpable that GOP legislators may have a difficult time seating Biden electors when it comes down to putting in place that process for the vote on December the 14th.
That would be something. John, come back to Georgia in a moment.
So that's where we are, right? We're in Go ahead, Lizzie. We are at the stage where the anger of conservatives has become the golden calf of what we should be concerned about, right? The anger of conservatives is like, oh, wait a minute. They're so angry that now we as a nation have to tolerate them entertaining the idea of overthrowing what we wanted and what we expressed through our votes, right? Do you understand? Like, we're really taking into consideration the anger of Republicans, and we're juxtaposing that next to the possibility that they would destroy our democracy. There's something there, and I'm going to say it one more time until I get it out properly. The anger of white conservative, particularly men in this country, is equal to this country in their minds. Their rage is to be respected, even if it comes at the cost of this democracy. They're angry that they lost to Joe Biden. What they're willing to do with that anger and what they expect us to take into consideration because of their anger is the fact that we could destroy this entire democracy. In other words, this democracy is hanging on a thread, standing on the edge of oblivion, all based on the whims of some spoiled brat Republicans. And that's wild to me. That's wild to me, that the thing that we're juxtaposed, that we are holding up in balance, right? You got the scales of justice. Well, the scales of democracy, we've got democracy and we've got destruction. And Republicans are like, I'm angry. I'm so mad. Actually, I guess it would go the other way, right? Democracy would go down or whatever. You get the picture. The idea is they value and treasure their anger more than they even value this country, because they wouldn't be talking about this if they honestly cared about the ramifications of what would happen if they let their anger control them. This country will be destroyed because of the anger of white men, conservative white men, that expect, these conservative white Christian men who expect to be able to be heard and their grievances to be prostrated and before and acquiesced to. They expect us to have so much respect for their anger that we have to choose between giving in and letting them have what they want because they're angry, and letting them push this country to the brink. They're so angry that they're willing to ignore the will of the people. Okay, so, I guess people are like, well, they're talking about that on Fox News, but are they really considering doing that? Because, that might just be scaremongering, or that might just be, Ben, you're just being hyperbolic. And, well, there's plenty of reason. I'm actually just looking for that. To see. There are plenty of reasons to believe that they are willing to do this. Take a look at this tweet. Pennsylvania State Senate Majority Leader Jake Corman, Republican, has said for months that the state legislature plays no role in appointing electors according to Pennsylvania law. But now, facing quote unquote pressure to overturn the results, he's hedging that statement, saying that it's in normal circumstances. I'm going to read that paragraph underneath. Meanwhile, Pennsylvania's Republican Senate Majority Leader Jordan Connon has long claimed it's the same thing. They are really considering overturning the results of the race in Pennsylvania because of quote unquote pressure. Do you understand what I'm saying? They put and rate their anger to be analogous, as equally as important as the existence of this country. And that's wild to me, because like we talked about last night is the possibility. I mean, honestly, the possibility of us setting aside our right to govern, right, in order to preserve what we have. Last night, I asked everybody to really process the possibility that if the rubber met the road, would you be so committed to the idea of justice and so committed to the idea of your right to vote that if it is stolen from you, that you would be willing to do whatever, fight back and not capitulate and not give in and not blink. So here we are, questioning whether or not, man, this is about to be good because it's actually coming to me as we go. Here we are questioning whether or not it is worthwhile for us to juxtapose our fight for justice and our fight for the right to govern ourselves and to vote and to determine our own destiny with our vote. We're considering taking that down and putting it aside for the sake of preserving what we have in this country, the modicum of peace. Because let's be real, we always assume that it will always be like this, and that America can never fail, and that this can never devolve into some type of actual civil war that would destabilize our nation. But it clearly, at some point in American history, past, present, and future, there's the possibility that we destroy ourselves. And so we considered last night the need and the possibility for us to say, hey, is it worthwhile fighting these people literally just for the sake of justice and the ability to self-govern, democracy. And these effing clowns are doing the same analysis, but about their anger. They're willing to really question whether or not they're willing to destroy this country. Like they're sitting around considering a path that could lead to the destruction of this country because they're angry. Because they're angry? You're talking talk that could destroy this country because you're angry because you lost? You pathetic, spoiled brats. But this is what divides us. This is what divides us. A group of people who prioritize their anger, their rage, their sense of victimhood, their victimhood complex. This idea, the people who have the most. And I guess if you have existed for so long with having everything, the minute you have to realize, oh, I can't get my way, you feel like you are oppressed. And so you get so angry that you're like, not only are you taking your marbles and going home, you're blowing up the whole damn block, possibly literally, because you're angry. You pathetic cretins who have no place in our society. I'm sorry, that level of foolishness is enough to destroy us. And yet we're actually discussing their anger in that context. Here their anger is being elevated and respected to the point where they're now like, oh, this is pressure. Well, we'll do something that we normally don't do. But now look at the second paragraph of Andrew Prokop's tweet. But now facing pressure to overturn the results. He's hedging that statement, saying that they don't play any role in appointing electors in normal circumstances. Oh, man. It is representative of how much we genuflect in this society to the anger of white conservative men, not just white men. Nobody capitulated to the anger of Bernie Sanders. They criticized it. They dismissed it. They said that it was too loud. Oh, but let some conservative white men get angry. Conservative white Christian men, let them get angry. And all of a sudden, everybody's supposed to pause and be like, oh boy, I almost call them rednecks. I know too many good rednecks to call them that. Oh boy, these privileged, bourgeoisie, elitist, country club, golf course, khaki wearing, spoiled brats who have never had to live in a society that they have to be equal in terms of opportunity in leading this country. In other words, you have to exist in a society that you don't always get to win, Republicans. You have to exist in a society that you don't always get to win, and you're so effing spoiled that you're considering blowing this whole thing up. Meanwhile, those of us on this side of the equation, we talked about it last night, maybe for the sake of peace, maybe for the sake of preserving our country, maybe for the sake of preserving, our children's futures, right? Because if we go headlong against this conservative derangement with the same intensity that they're coming towards us, there's an inevitable collision, and we don't know how that's going to play out. So maybe we should consider on our side not fighting them. This is the problem of peaceful people versus belligerent people. And we're dealing with that type of leadership where the only thing that matters to them is their wee little hurt feelings because they lost the damn election. And they are considering doing things that would force us to respond by saying absolutely the hell not. You're not stealing our democracy from us. And where do we think that can lead? We don't know. You can't always talk cash money shit and expect everything to be able to back down to normal. You can't always push the envelope and go to the edge of destruction and always expect for it to come back, right? You can't play with fire and always expect to not get burned. Eventually, if people keep talking like this and pushing us in this direction, then it will happen. You talk yourself into it. Conservatives, you're going to talk yourself because of your wee little feelings. You're going to talk yourself into an actual factual confrontation, and you don't have any real idea how that's going to end, but we can all agree it's not going to end well for a whole lot of people, conservative and liberal, progressive and otherwise, black and white, and every race that is here in this country, old and young. Children's futures will be cut off. Old people's last years will be filled with nothing but terror because you got angry, because you lost a race. You sad excuse for a human being. Anyway. Voter fraud, somebody just screamed in the audience. Listen to this clip from Fox News.
Busy, but before we start, there's some pushback about you wearing these two hats. Folks say, look, she's being paid with White House taxpayer dollars to be the press secretary, and now you're over in this other position. What do you say to them about that? How do you answer those criticisms?
Well, first, I'm cleared by White House counsel. The Hatch Act, some may not understand it, but it says this, that you separate your political role and your White House role. You do not lose First Amendment rights when you come into government. The same rights that allow the press to have freedom of press allow me to have the right to political speech. So long as I separate the two, I'm actually complying with the Hatch Act. And notably, those same critics were criticizing others in the administration for engaging in political speech on government property. I've chosen to separate the two in compliance with the Hatch Act.
Your own America's
Republican,
dying.
he said, listen, give Joe Biden the presidential daily brief. After all, Senator Harris she's on the Intel committee. She's getting, she has high-level security access. Has the president considered that?
I haven't spoken to the president about that. That would be a question more for the White House, but I will say that all laws are being followed with regard to an expected transition, though we expect to continue on as the Trump administration. We will see how our litigation goes.
I really don't have a whole lot to say about that, except for, whatever. Just get the hell out of office. You guys have been grifting this long, and I really... There is actually a lot that I can say about it, but I want to save it. I'm going to save it for later. But these are the games that people play. Right. I guess I'm going to go into it. These are the games that people play. They will look you in the eye. They will look you in the eye and tell you that water ain't wet. And they will look you in the eye and say, the sky is green and grass is blue. Now, Kayleigh is kind of just the low-hanging fruit here, right? But she is playing her role in that exact narrative of people who are more interested in being right than they are the truth, in winning an argument than they are being fair. Then they are more interested in obtaining power than they are creating society and sustaining a society that allows the peaceful transfer of power. Right? They don't care about democracy, basically, right? So she's just like one cog in that machine, but it goes beyond like the Republican Party, to be sure. Like this is a political problem that we have yet to figure out how to manage inside of a democracy. Like, how do you, when democracy is dependent on good faith actors, what do you do when you get a bunch of bad faith actors who understand by behaving with bad faith, it gives them a structural advantage in a competition with the other people? In other words, if you're willing to break the rules, you're able to get ahead. In this twisted system that we have, if you're willing to break the rules, you're willing to get ahead. So they have an incentive to lie to you, to your face, and tell you that night is day and day is night. And Kayleigh McEnany is just playing her role in that. Right? And So she's doing that role for the Trump admin. Donald Trump is just playing his role in that bigger, broader narrative of the underlying problem that will exist even after Donald Trump is gone. Even after Donald Trump is gone, we're still going to have to deal with people who would engage in bad faith because it gives them a structural advantage. They can get ahead. They can maintain power if they ignore the custom of the peaceful transfer of power. They can remain in power if they decide to break the rules and change who the state senate legislatures and elect as electors. Like they understand that if they break the rules, they can win. The problem is our democracy is rooted in our ability to simply have agreements between two people without anybody else there to. We are literally talking about some core Achilles heels, plural, I guess, of America. That so much of what makes us worked in the past was nothing more than simple agreements. And when you get bad faith actors like this entire cabal that's in Washington, D.C. right now, because it's not just Republicans. They're the most egregious. They're the most flagrant. They're the ones who are willing to burn down democracy because they're mad, right? But then there are also other bad faith actors who will look at us and say, nobody wants free lunch. Well, my dude, that's bad faith because it's not free lunch because every single one of us pay taxes. So why can't we have a lunch? Right? So it's not just Republicans. I will tell you that Republicans are the most dangerous, most egregious in their bad faith actions, and they're the most dangerous, and that's why they have to go, and that's why you got to vote. Well, if you're in Georgia, vote for John Ossoff and vote for Raphael Warnock, because as much as I may not be the biggest fan of Ossoff, and I really kind of like Warnock, right? Everything I've ever known about him, I kind of like the guy, but that's immaterial because the people they're running against will look at you in the face and tell you that, no, I didn't know that COVID-19 was going to be bad, but here Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue actually sold their stocks. They tightened up their portfolio to insulate themselves from the effects of COVID-19 that they knew about because they got insider information from Senate intelligence committees. And they did nothing to protect the people, but they did something to protect their portfolio. So as much as I want you to understand at a very core level that there are problems of disingenuousness in Washington, D.C., period. And I've got plenty to say about where the Democrats are selling us a bill of goods, making it seem like we can't get Medicare for all. Like the people don't want Medicare for all when it's the most popular policy on the platform right now. Well, it's not on the platform, but you know what I mean. I need you to understand that disingenuousness goes beyond conservatives. But in terms of the danger that we face, there is no equivalence between these people who would burn this democracy to the ground for the sake of their ego and for the sake of their arrogance and for the sake of their anger. I can use democracy to beat this batch of Democrats that I don't like. But I can't get rid of them if we don't have a democracy in the first place. Yeah, I guess that's as good a place as any to let me breathe.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
The other side of everything that's happening, I mean, I've got plenty of stuff to talk to you about and videos to show you. But I don't want to move too fast past the reality that we had about 1,500 people die today. We had 1,500 people die from COVID-19 today. And we're still acting in this country I got to say the collective we, right? Because I know you as an individual, you probably have been doing your part. So I don't want to sound like I'm lecturing you, because I know you've done what you can. But so many of our brothers and sisters and non-gender conforming individuals across this country have yet to be willing to put on a damn mask. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I could probably take off that non-gender conforming individual. I'm pretty sure it's going to be very difficult to find someone who's non-binary who is not fully aware of the need to care for somebody besides themselves, but it's possible. The only reason I mention it is because it's within the realm of possibility. No one group is perfect, but damn, we're not all out here tripping like these folks who have argued with us about the freedom to not wear a mask so much that we had 200,000 people in a single day contract COVID-19. I'm like, wow, you guys are so fixated on your own individualism that you can't put on a god blanking mask. You know what it really is? I was wearing a mask today and I was like, whoo boy, that lunch on my breath is not nice. So I'm thinking a lot of them really can't come to terms with just how bad their own breath stinks. Really, and that's a metaphor, right? Actually, like they can't see their own shit. They can't see themselves. They can't see their arrogance, right? And so if they're ever forced to look into the mirror, there will be repulse, and so they refuse to look in the mirror. That's what I'm really saying, is that the core of their delusion and their derangement and their individualism is that they refuse to look at themselves in the damn mirror. Just like they refuse to be subjected to their own stanky ass breath. I told y'all I'm equal parts ignorant and enlightened. So I think what it is they don't want to be confronted. They don't want to be confronted with their own stanky breath. And so they're not going to put on no damn mask because it is their freedom. Their freedom is so... And here we are, 1,500 people dead in a single day. In a single day. Because we have to genuflect and respect and consider the feelings of people so selfish that they won't put on a goddamn mask. Do you see how this is the same dilemma that I discussed in the first part of this episode? It's the same thing. The people who refuse to put on a goddamn mask are the same people who refuse to set aside their anger for the preservation of our union. Hey, this is great stuff I'm giving you for free, unless you're a patron, but thank you for subsidizing it for everybody else, because this is actually some dope stuff I'm on tonight. This is what happens when I actually can get some rest. I have not been able to get rest lately, but we've rectified that situation. The people who refuse to wear a mask because they prioritize their individualism, in reality, they just don't want to smell their breath. They're willing to see 200,000 people a day contract COVID-19 because they can't put on a mask. Similarly, they're willing to burn this entire democracy to embers because they don't want to lose. You selfish bastards. The real dilemma here for us, if I can take it to a 30,000 foot. Hey, everybody who's coming in. A lot of new people are coming in. Speaking of, let me pause and thank Step Back History. Thank you, Step Back History. You rated us last night, and I didn't do really any recognition of anything last night because it was just super late and I was super exhausted and I had no energy to actually be at my best. I'm trying to be at my best tonight, even with this loud ass shirt. So thank you, Step Back History. The real dilemma, if you look at this from a 30,000 foot level, or hell, probably from however high up satellites are, is that the real question is, how long will we put up with this type of behavior? This type of behavior in our society. Because what's happening is we are inadvertently allowing their manipulation of freedom, of democracy, of quite frankly, just civilization, right? They are, I'm at a whatever, however high. Somebody tell me how high satellites are, because I don't know. But if you just kind of look at it kind of holistically across the globe, we're dealing with a structural problem in democracy. 20,000 miles in altitude. Thank you. 20,000 miles? That can't be right. 20,000 feet sounds more. That can't be right. I know we're small and insignificant, but no, you got to be talking about like, yes, come on, man. Listen, you almost caught me slipping for a second. It took me a second. I'm like, wait a minute. That math doesn't add up. Anyway, we're dealing with a structural problem in democracy, which is similar to a structural problem in civilization, period, no matter what model of civilization you employ. The truth of the matter is we're dealing with the fact that people have the capacity to leverage our willingness to build community against us to destroy that community. You see what I'm saying? Like the freedom that we give them to be who they are, and the space that we give them to, that we give each other, right? We don't grant it to them without first granting it to ourselves, right? So we are dealing with people who will take the freedoms of our society to destroy our society. That's kind of like the, satellite view of this. And in America, right, if we take that 30,000 we take that 30,000 foot a view of this, an analysis of this, and look at America, you're dealing with a party, right? It's a structural problem in humanity in general, right? In our interactions between individuals and the way we organize civilization. It is a problem that people will use the freedoms of that civilization to destroy that civilization. But if we bring it down to a 30,000 foot level and look at the United States of America, we have a political party in power that has shown us that they will destroy this democracy, because they understand that their willingness to destroy democracy gives them the strategic advantage. And then what the real big question is, like, what do we do about that? Because if we collide, I guess this is my whole thinking, like this is what's on my mind this week, is if we are not willing to collide head on with that type of thinking and have a confrontation with that type of thinking, a confrontation with people who refuse to wear a mask because they think it's an affront to they ridiculously and absurdly suggest that it is an affront to their freedom. The people who are unwilling to concede from this election because they're unwilling to deal with the reality that sometimes in life you actually lose. And here we are saying, how do we deal with these, what's the word for this, for this type of person in your classroom, this type of person in your home, this type of person in your community who chooses to play the role of the destabilizing force, who chooses to play the role of the negative energy that could destroy everything, right? What is that? Well, T. Gilly, deplorables. Damn it. Deplorables. I tell you this, there's not a lot that I say positive about Hillary Clinton. Check my receipts. I don't have a lot of positive things to say about. But one thing she was absolutely right about is that we're dealing with a group of deplorables because they are willing to destroy this country for the sake of not wanting to lose in your anger. And they're willing to stand by and watch 200. And you notice there is a direct correlation. There is a correlation between the ideology of the people who refuse to concede in this election because they can't handle confronting the reality of a loss, And the people who refuse to wear these masks, got us to the point where at 200,000 lives being infected every single day. And today alone, we lost 1,500 people. And we, on our side it's the same people who reject science. And again, I want to be sure to tell you that this is not necessarily ideological, but there's a huge ass correlation. Okay. It's not causal. It is not because they are conservatives that they behave this way, but there is unfortunately almost a 1-to-1 ratio, right? 100% overlap of that Venn diagram of people who refuse to give up this campaign because they lost and they can't grapple with loss. And the people who refuse to wear masks because it's an affront to their freedoms, leading to the uncontrolled spread of COVID-19. To the people who understand that all of this is a method for them to have the strategic advantage in a society where we are really dependent on the agreement to engage with each other in good faith. Man, yeah, I'll be on that shit. That was pretty good. Let's take another break. And let me figure out what the hell I'm going to say next.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Okay, here we are. I know what I want to do next. It's my favorite part of every single episode. Let me just get my mouse into the right position so that I am ready to call out all the names of all the people who make this show possible. All of our patrons and all of our new Twitch subscribers, for which there are many. So, all right, so buckle up. Let's have this patron. Wait a minute. Hold on 1 second. Actually, it was nothing. I just lost my music. I was trying to act like something happened. I just couldn't find my music. Let's do this patron party.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and get twice the content and unfiltered interviews without any of the commercial interruptions.
And here we go. At this point in every single episode, I like to take a minute to thank the people who make the show possible, our patrons, and our Twitch sub members. Very special welcome to Sarah G 1968. Thank you. J May 739, Miss Winnie 02, Smack Talk 94 for gifting a sub. 17 total. Peachy, Bleach Boy, Crazy Hawaiian PA. Wait a minute. Input Era, True Dwabi, Dr. Funky Donk, Ken, Alex, Shania, Irie. There's so many people. Levon, Troy, Zach, Melissa M, Magdalene M, Teresa J, Patrick M, Barbara W, Lotus D, Denny, Brandon, Ashley, Sean, George, Ray, Kissa P, John L. Thank you for supporting this show. You too can become a part of this prestigious and prodigious patron family by going to patreon.com/The BPD Show, where you get twice the content, uncut, unfiltered interviews, none of the commercial interruptions, and you give me the ability to speak power into the powerless, whether the powerful like it or not. Woo!
Welcome back to the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Damn.
Visit us online at thebenjamindixonshow.com.
Yeah. Check me out. Boom. All right. That's the patron party. It's only the second time I've done the patron party during the night stream, because it just takes a little coordination to be able to do that live. and yeah, I appreciate that. T. Gilly said I got that down. Right, we did that. It's a challenge every time, but we did it. So here's the flip side of everything that I talked about. The flip side is that somehow, some way, we absolutely must be able to work around, work with, work through, or do whatever we got to do to work on top of those deplorables in society who would use the freedoms that we all respect within each other And they will use it to destroy the society itself because they can't stand to smell their own breath with a mask on their face. And they can't stand the idea of losing. And so they're willing to burn all of this down. How do we as a society, whether you think about yourself as an individual, yourself as an American, or yourself as a human being, how do we deal with deplorables who would destroy the society without becoming deplorable ourselves? I think one of the things that we're not at that part yet, right? We're not at that swing of the pendulum in history, let alone American history, where we need to be preeminently concerned with becoming the monsters that we oppose, because we're nowhere near that. Nobody is chasing these people out of towns, right? There's no leftist, real scary, big, bad socialists that are chopping people's head off. No. What we do have are deplorables who are willing to destroy society for the sake of their ego, their anger, and their arrogance. So while I always keep in the back of my mind that we could go too far in the sense of trying to make a perfect society by getting rid of the people who are deplorable, who want to destroy our society, the reality of it is we ain't even got to worry about that shit right now because we got folks who don't want to concede this election, right? While I think that type of navel gazing is important, the application today says that we have people in Congress who are willing, people in state legislatures, quite honestly, who are willing to burn this country to the ground because of their anger. And we have people who are willing to let this virus go uncontrolled and spread uncontrollably because it's too much of an inconvenience for them to put on a damn mask. We've got to figure out how to manage these deplorables. We have to know, how do we accommodate in society for people who would destroy society? Because we can't get rid of them. I mean, even if we were like as evil as they think we are, and we pulled out the guillotine and we got rid of all of them, that shit is just going to be born in the next generation. So we would have stained our claim to justice. We would have perverted our claim to what's good and proper and noble in the universe, because we would have eradicated an entire group of people who were deplorables, only to have that shit come back in the next generation, because evil doesn't have to be taught. Bigotry doesn't have to be taught. It doesn't have to be handed down. We can conceive of some pretty evil shit on our own without the need of somebody teaching it to us. So it's inevitable that type of, that we can never get rid of it. And do we even really want to try? Because at the expense that it comes at our soul, at the expense that it comes, that you know what I was trying to say. Anyway. But the point is that we still are at a juncture where we got to do something, and we can't spend too much time sitting around navel gazing about if we go too far. But these people are the same people who ignore the science. There was one more layer. That I didn't get to. They're the same people, level of analysis, who will ignore the science of climate change and lead to the destruction of our entire planet because of the, I hate to use Al Gore's title, but it is a very inconvenient truth. So on an individual level, these people are so selfish that they will not put on a damn mask, even if it helps save the lives of their friends and family. That's on the individual level. That's the level of individualism and selfishness that exists in them. On the national level, we have people who refuse to concede an election because it bruises their ego. They're willing to burn it all down for the sake of their ego. On a global level, they're willing to ignore climate science because it is inconvenient for their bottom line, which would lead to the destruction of our entire planet. And at a structural level, They would always be willing to run our civilization to the edge of destruction because it gives them some strategic advantage. So how do we manage our deplorables? Is there a good book out there about it? Because I like to read it and actually just kind of, because I don't have the solution. I just have the diagnosis of the problem. But I will say this, somehow, some way, we're going to do that because we have to do that. Because if we continue to allow deplorables to lead our society, they're going to destroy our society. If we continue to let deplorables, here's one of the number one problems, folks, is that we have created an entire system that's rooted in the very worst of humanity. Deplorables, when they are only giving us a rational reaction to the type of system that we have all collectively maintained. Like, we ain't created. I was born in this, right? This system that is built based on relentless greed, unabashed greed. Like, how can we correct the deplorables when the system incentivizes them to behave this way? In other words, what I'm saying is, maybe we need to look at the fact that we have a system that is more than willing to reward the very worst. Like, the greedier you can behave, the better you perform in this system. The more you can deny labor of living wage, the higher profit margins you get, and you're rewarded in this system. The more you're completely unconcerned or unmoved by the fact that there are profits at the core of an industry that makes its money off of people dying of cancer, the healthcare system, that we're just okay. We're just okay in this country with, damn it, people making billions of dollars off of cancer patients because we just don't want to talk about Medicare for all. Or because Medicare for all would mess up our profit margins. See, when I say the future is progressive, what I really mean is that it's not because it's the name. It's not, nobody gives a damn about it. I don't care what you call it. You can call this wibbly wobbly, right? That could be the name of it. It has absolutely, the name is sometimes detrimental. The name of progressivism itself is sometimes detrimental, but I don't have any better way to describe it at this point. The future has to be progressive because otherwise we have a system that rewards the deplorables. We have a system that rewards deplorable behavior, and we're wondering why it is that we have deplorables. So, all right. That's enough of me running my mouth. Appreciate you listening to me. Get that off my mind. Let's read some comments and questions. I want to start with questions from our patrons. Patrons are able to send me questions in the mailbox on Patreon, and your questions can be a little bit longer. But I want to read from Troy Y. He said, I've been paying reparations to an organization called Uhura Solidarity because I'm kind of desperate to legitimize my solidarity with Black people. I want to know what Black people think or know of this organization that I'm not going to name. I literally would be a modern day, and I'll leave that off too. I'm really skeptical of any organization that is making you pay reparations for you to have, you know what I mean, for that validity. I think the United States needs to pay reparations, not individual people. Like, you know, you being a patron is cool, right? But it's not. It doesn't have to. I'm not going to tell you have to do that for your for you to be, you know, to represent and legitimize your solidarity with Black people. I feel like you might be being hustled, but I don't know anything about them. But I will tell you, it is for the American government to pay these reparations. All right. So free up your money, become a higher tier subscriber on Patreon. Take whatever money you're getting from them and pay, give it to some mutual aid organization, right? Yeah. Don't feel like you have to. No, the American government needs to pay reparations. Sharon M said, I want to ask you your opinion of an idea to show these repugs what people power feels like. The concept is called phone jamming. If we live outside of DC, we would call, fax, email the repugnants and make their staff explain why they are not following protocol. Also call the General Services Administration as well. For those that are surrounding the DC areas, we could show up in person. That is the nuts and bolts of your idea. Yeah, no, it is absolutely a standard. I think we absolutely have to. We absolutely have to put on as much pressure as we possibly can. As much pressure as we possibly can. And jamming the phones, make them have to, and make them so tired. Make them so tired of having to address the issue that they're more likely to not press the issue. Because as long as you really, oh, this is a question. How do you identify who gets it? Reparations is a good idea, but how do you verify who gets it? I mean, there's plenty of studies of it, but those of us who have our lineage here from the United States, the American descendants of enslaved people. But anyway, back to their question. As long as Republicans don't feel any pressure, they're going to go completely unthwarted, unconcerned. They'll just stroll through thinking that we're so weak or we just don't care, and they just get away with it. So yeah, all hands on deck, and call your Congress people, call your state legislators, and Senate members. Call them on the state level and let them know that you're not playing around about this, not at all. And then when you're done calling for that, call and do some phone banking for John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock in the state of Georgia races. Brandon W. said, thanks for episode 980. Today's podcast, Ben. It may be the best one I've heard since I discovered your podcast. Everything that you said, I've been stressing over the last 2 days, which goes to show you that this goes to show I'm not crazy. Thank you so much for what you do. That's the thing, man. Like one of the number one reasons I do this is because you talk back to me and you really let me know, like, because don't get me wrong, y'all. I can clearly get out of pocket. I can get out of pocket. And every now and then I need to just have a gut check. I need somebody to let me know and be like, hey, Ben, back up. You're losing the plot, champ. You're losing the plot. And but when I say these things and I have people say, wow, I have been thinking that forever and I just couldn't put it into words. That's when I'm like, yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. Let's see. Twitch subscribers. Comrade V Taco said, are term limits anti-democratic? I don't believe they are. I think they're a necessary circuit breaker. I don't think that's exactly what I was trying to say there, but I think you can get the image of it. I think it's a necessary tool to preserve democracy. Netha Barika said 80% of all Americans will revolt against the neo-fascist Donald Trump if he stays in power. And that's the thing. Like, what do they expect? What would they expect us to do? Come on. Like, we talked about this yesterday, the possibility of some of us saying, hey, it's not worth the war, and that we would just leave this country. But then on the opposite side of every single one of you is the opposite side of me, which is like, I wish they would try it. Who prevails? I don't know. And when I say who prevails, I mean, which side of you prevails? Like, are you just going to say, listen, I want peace, so I'm going to leave this country. I'm out of here. Y'all Republicans can have it. Or would you wake up and say, oh, this is the day I turn into a revolutionary? I don't know what would happen with me. I couldn't even tell you. Netha Bariko also said, I think the right doesn't think the left will revolt against Trump. Absolutely. Jeff Wardolph said, but Ben, don't we want it, Ben? But we don't want it, Ben. Let me read that properly. That's the thing. We don't want it. But if we have to, we will fight for our families and our future. We don't want it. We don't. Nobody's talking about guillotines because we just want to see heads roll. Like, maybe there's some people are, but they're not our people then, right? Right? I saw this tweet, this quote from Joe Rogan about, all these people on the left talking about violence. You could tell that they've never been in war. First of all, bitch, excuse me. Sorry. I'm sorry. That came out. That slipped out. I'm sorry. First of all, who on the left is actually talking about real violence for the sake of our ego, bigotry, and hatred for other groups? The furthest you get on the left is people who are reminding society that there has been moments in history when the people have risen up and used a specific type of violence to overthrow the abuse of the ruling elite. Every time you see somebody drop a guillotine meme or gif or whatever or reference, they're saying, folks, you really need to pay attention to the people who are at the bottom, because there's a lot more of us than there are of you, and you're playing around as if there's no historical precedent for revolution. So we're not the ones who are actually talking about violence. We're talking about historical violence that has been used to rectify the very situations that we're seeing now. See, people listen to Joe Rogan, and I get it. He's a dude, bro. Oh, sometimes he's funny. He's not the best comedian, but sometimes he's funny. But the lack of intellectual veracity. I mean, like, really. I think he says some of the ridiculous things that he says because he just doesn't have the thinking capacity to do more. I don't think Joe Rogan is a bad dude. I just think that he's he's out of his depth, especially if he thinks that the people who are a threat of violence in society are the leftists who are over here saying, fam, we just want people to have better care for all. And on your side of the equation, these motherfuckers are saying, if we lose the election, then we're going to burn this country to the ground. These two things are not the same, Joe Rogan. I guess this should be clipped. This part right here should be clipped by itself. Because we don't want, like Jeff Wardoff said, we don't want violence. I don't want violence. And damn. I want every person on the face of this planet to have the little bit of peace that I have. Okay? I ain't got much. Right? I'm still renting like everybody else, but I got a backyard. For the first time in my life, I got a little backyard that I can go sit in and listen to the breeze of the trees and the wind. And I got finally made enough with Patreon to be able to buy my kids a trampoline so they can go out there and jump on the trampoline while I'm barbecuing. Like, that's legit what I want for everybody else, because it's enough. It's enough. And we want everybody to have enough. We want everyone to have a doctor. We want everyone to have a roof over their head. We want everyone to be able to have food on the table without living perpetually on the edge of falling over into oblivion if they just miss, they stub their toe and they have to go to the doctor and now everything is over. They missed one day of work and everything that they had was contingent on them never breaking away from working like their lives depended on it. That's what we want. And you somehow draw an analog between that and these spoiled brats in the Proud Boys and these petulant men children in the Boogaloo Boys. I guess that's why you keep referencing yourselves as boys instead of adult human beings who can function in society and play good with everybody else, instead of using their ego, their arrogance, and their bigotry and their refusal, more than anything else, their refusal to look themselves in the mirror and be willing to change something about them. Even if it's something as innocuous as changing your mind about a political position. These people don't want to smell their own breath. These people don't want to look in the mirror. These people don't want to ever be confronted with the reality that they lost or with the reality that they could be wrong. And therefore, if they're wrong, they need to be willing to change their mind. But that is the most dangerous idea to them. That is the most dangerous idea to them. They cannot afford to ever take into consideration the possibility that they have been wrong, because it causes a cognitive dissonance, a pain. I would argue that it causes actual physical pain to have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, damn, what I've been believing all this time is wrong. And so in order to avoid that painful truth, they always ignore the truth. And they have to, therefore, engage in bad faith so that they never have to confront those truths. See, if y'all let me get rest, I could spit some truth. I could spit some gospel truth if I actually sleep. I slept today. Okay, Nepthi Barika said, no, Come Correct said, if I put on a mask, it means I'm no longer better than you. That's a very interesting perspective. Sietan Worshipper said, has Trump even mentioned COVID since he lost? No, I don't think he has. I have no idea. McNanamiffin, that's what I think it says. It says, in my opinion, somehow we have to convince them that life is better with progressives, but have to follow through with higher wages, clean environment, not going broke from getting sick, ending wars, better education, etc. Right? You know, we do have to show them that it is in their rational best interest to be progressive. And I don't mean that I don't care. You don't have to ever like Bernie Sanders. I sometimes don't like Bernie Sanders. I'm not telling you to be a fan of any politician, because as soon as you become a fan of any politician, they know they can get away with murder. I'm saying, look out for your fellow man. Jesus Christ, is it that difficult? Let's see. Thunder Voice 1 on Twitch said, I live in a red county in Colorado. One of my students today told me that they're immunocompromised. Mom tested positive for COVID. Damn, I'm so sorry to hear that. Nepthi Borika said, take their power from them and by any means. Yeah. I mean, it does seem like the way to do it, but how do we accomplish that without, like going to war? And even if we go to war and we win, they're going to come back at the next generation. Maybe we need to go ahead and win. Maybe we need to go ahead and take care of this right now because climate change is impending. And then we could figure out, sort out our feelings about having to put the deplorables. I don't know. I'm just saying, we got some real existential crisis coming. And so we're not going to have time for all of my navel gazing. At some point, somebody's going to have to do something. I just want to make sure that you have the full context of it before you jump out there and do something wild. Slow down, put the guillotine back away, right? I know you built the real one. Throw that thing back into the garage, and let's sit for a minute and think about the implications of what you're actually thinking. I digress. Mary Animal said, you cannot make them be good people. Absolutely. All you could do is create legislation in order to mitigate how they're able to harm others. Yep. Can you imagine the complexity of a legal system that is able to neutralize deplorables in society without infringing on our human rights and freedoms? That's the puzzle. That's the puzzle right there. And is it even possible? Let's see. Terry Berry Zero said, I was just thinking we need to let people in Georgia know loud and clear if they personally or their businesses need or expect any help with COVID relief, they must vote for Ossoff and Warnock or they'll get Zippo for sure. Yeah, that's actually really good, right? If you want an actual package, it's not going to come from Mitch McConnell. It's not. It's not. Just looking at the delay. Anyway, Barbara Marks Hubbard said, evolution is cyclical. We see crises to avoid it until it forces us to evolve. The squad aren't politicians. They're people who had no choice but to run for Congress. If we grow that number of people, we'll be able to actively change. Think of how much trouble 4 women of color have caused. That is actually a really amazing comment. Let me get to our super chats. Hang on a second. And because we have so many of these comments, I'm having to reserve the space for like patrons and just like we usually spend an hour on comments. I'm gonna do my best to get in as many super chats as I can, so that we can at least cut it off at an hour and a half instead of 2 hours. That's cool, everybody. Y'all feel me? Where did my super chat list go? It is in here somewhere. Let me just double click here. Oh, there they go. There they go. And we have a couple from yesterday. I wanted to make sure that that I caught up with those that I missed yesterday. Tara Purcell said, I just want Trump gone. It seems more and more people are joining in on this unspoken coup. And I'm terrified of the what if. Like, sadly, he has shown us every weakness in checks and balances. Just get out. Infinite Content said, Ben, we need more career people to become interim heads of departments so that the wheels keep moving. On top of IG should be independent, abolish EC, the Electoral College. Misty Bauer says, I'm very concerned about the crazies becoming dangerous. What can we do to stay safe if violence escalates to war in the streets due to Trump not going? I think the number one thing is that we need to catch them before we get there. We need people to actually look, come on. And when I said take the guillotine back in your garage and sit down and let's think about the implications and ramifications of what you're getting ready to do, I was jokingly talking about leftists because we don't actually want war. We're literally fighting to end wars. Okay. But that principle applies and is most applicable to Republicans. Like, you need to pause. Put your, whatever it is that fascists use, put it back in your garage. Leftists, we use guillotines. I don't know what you far right wingers use. You use vehicles to run people down. Put it in the garage. You use AR-15s to gun people down in the streets. Put that back in your garage and slow down and take into consideration what you're really getting ready to do. If you're going to prioritize your anger to the point where you're willing to go to war over this democracy, it may not play out the way you think. Take a second. Let's think about it. Now, if you still come to the same conclusion, well, you made that decision, not me. L. Well said, my husband served in combat zone. He's now retired. He said there's more of us on the side of democracy than there are Trumpers, and we own and know how to use weapons too. See, it's not going to work out the way they think, man. I'm trying to tell them. Ella Q says, and here's the thing. I want to make sure that I wrap that in the fact that it may not work out the way we think. When you are actually talking about the possibility of armed conflict over something as frivolous as not liking the results of an election, like, dude, y'all probably be back in power in 4 more years, but you're so committed to dominating the system that you're willing to go to war. Truth is, neither side knows how this plays out. And we will always be able in civilization to do brinksmanship. We had brinksmanship during the Cold War. The Cuban Missile Crisis was brinksmanship, right? We've had brinksmanship throughout world history. It's just escalating the impact, the intensity, and the impact of what could happen. We can't always play brinksmanship and walk away as a civilization. We can't just play brinksmanship and walk away and expect to walk away as a civilization. At some point, talking all that shit gets to you. Maybe at some point, or rather what I think I wanted to say was catches up with you. At some point, talking all that shit and all that bravado and all that hubris and all of that, dick measuring and all that, I got more guns than you, we got more guns than you. And I don't know, Ethel, I think we can take them. I don't know, Billie Jean, I think they might have us out. I don't. Sometimes just having those conversations are enough to lead to the calamity. You're not going to always be able to talk shit and not have to back it up. We cannot afford to have an annual Cuban Missile Crisis because one of them is going to go south. So everybody take a step back. But here's the thing. On our side of the equation, you're asking us to step back from justice, from our right to self-govern. You're asking us to take a step back from democracy in exchange for your arrogance and unwillingness to lose. We're asking you to take a step back from your ego LQ said, if Dems take the Senate, do you agree voters' rights should be a priority? Yes. Linda G said they need to do something about mail-in. Lindsey Graham said they need to do something about mail-in ballots. Democrats use same tactics as Republicans versus progressives, so I imagine it would be difficult to get them on board. You said a lot in that one. Okay, I'm catching up with tonight. I'm not going to be able to get every single super chat. I do appreciate every single super chat. And here's what we're working on. I want to be sure that you understand what we're going to switch to. We're going to switch to a system starting probably Monday. If my producers say otherwise, let me know. On Monday, we will have a system where super chats come up on the screen. And then that will give me a lot more free time to recognize all the comments that we get across the different platforms and super chats. If somebody this morning dropped $500 in super chats, like in one super chat, and I was like, for that price, we'll stay on the air. I'll dance a little longer for that, man. You get 5 songs. You get you get about 20 songs for that. I got no damn sense. But the point is that people are giving a lot of money, and I gotta recognize them. So but there's so many super chats that we're gonna make sure that at least the very minimum, all of them will always come up on the screen, and we're gonna try to implement that system. God damn, I'm so stupid. Okay. AB says, Ben, tonight I'm writing dozens of postcards to send to Georgia voters to help with the Senate runoffs, trying to help them from California. Thank you for that. Thanks for fighting the good fight. DJ Addy from Twitch. Oh, hey, DJ Addy from Twitch. Thank you. Ghost Dog said, yes, hate is a new everyday. Cap, Libs, Hillary, Benghazi, California, on and on and on and on and on. I work with so many that hate everything. I've been told to be quiet. It's boring new every single day. Nick Watt said, we should divide the country in half, send deplorables to their side and let them kill each other. And then we take the land back and everybody's happy. That is actually brilliant. And shout out to King Killmonger. I got to throw this one. He said, let them use you, Ben. Church. Okay, we only have a few super chats tonight, so actually I think I can get them all in, and if time permits, we'll get them all in. Buck Odie said, maybe our system needs more actual laws and rules and not just norms and traditions. Right, we gotta target, we gotta plan a little better, right, and take into consideration that we have deplorables. So how do we maximize protections for democracy? Right, not protections for American empire, but protections for democracy, with the calculus of understanding that deplorables are always going to be present among us. Sister Soul said, greetings, Brother Benjamin. Thank you for dropping knowledge so that we can get understanding, a.k.a. Dragon Squad. That's what's up, Sister Soul. Brianna said, hey, Ben, you've been talking that stuff lately, and I originally came from a Dragon Squad raid and have stayed for the vibes and the knowledge you give. Thank you. Thank you. Amanda Rutherford. Sorry, I almost made you of Joseph here. Thank you, Ben. Your words have been fuel for my creativity. You piece together ideas beautifully. I draw my comic book as you speak. The future is progressive. I would love to see it. one day, when you're ready to show it, I would love to see it. And Crafty Creator said, can you say how we look up who our state legislators are? Yeah, no, I mean, really, just throw in your state, throw in your name, your zip code, not your name, your state, your zip code, and then type the question, who is my X? Who is my congressman? Who is my senator? Who is my state legislator? Who is my state senator? Just throw that. So put in your name, again, not your name. Put in your zip code, put in your state, which I guess your zip code will pull up your state. So just put in your zip code and ask the question, who is my, and fill in the blank. And then you follow that link to their website and get their phone number. And you literally can get the phone number of anybody who represents you in this country. All right, folks. That said, the future is progressive. Thank you. We don't have the website up, but it's coming up soon. The future is progressive. Shout out to everyone. Thank you so much. I think I'm going to take advantage of the fact that it's not terribly late and I'm going to go to bed. So do me a favor and listen to my closing as we get out of here. Wait. I almost messed up. I always like to end the night with a raid on Twitch. That means we take our entire audience and we go somewhere else. So let me look at my producer's Slack. Tell us where you're going and then tell us when it's done. And hang on, that's not the right chat. There it is, producer's chat. 160 and 2,000 miles. Thank you, Jake. I knew 20,000 was like, wait a minute. I'm like, no, we can get a little bit further. At 20,000 miles, we can get pretty far. But 160 to 2,000 miles. Okay. So let me know where we're going, where we're raiding, and as soon as we're done, we're out of here. In the meantime, while we wait for the raid, y'all show somebody some kindness. Show somebody some love in the chat room. Where you drink? You know what? I have no need for drinks tonight. I got this water here. I have this water, and it's gone. All right, I appreciate that. Thank you, Alexis. Good night to you. Y'all show everybody some love in this chat room. Kilometers. Yes, you said kilometers. I said miles. Oh, we're rating Central Committee. That's what's up. Central_Committee. We are rating. Get ready. Chat from tonight. Hang on, let me just scroll up, see if I lost anything, and maybe I missed a couple. No, I think I got everything. I'm pretty sure I read your comments, Infinite Content, but we'll sift through it and see. Good night to everyone. Good night. Good night. Good night to you all. I see you all. Just waiting on the okay for the raid. Well, you know what? I'm going to let the closing music play because I know by the time the music is done, the raid will be complete. Thanks for hanging out with me, everybody. We'll see you next time. Nope, it didn't work. Hang on. Let's try it again. Good night, everybody. And we'll see you.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.